What if I told you that you've been losing energy, not in some dramatic, obvious way, but in small, silent leaks? You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not too sensitive. You're exhausted because your energy field, the invisible force that holds your power, your clarity, your confidence, is being drained. Little by little. Every single day. But here's the catch. It's not the loud people that do it. It's not the ones yelling at you or causing chaos. It's the quiet ones. The clever ones. The ones who smile while they diminish you, who call it love while they chip away at your soul. And because it's all so subtle, you never noticed. You called it normal. You called it relationships. Maybe you even called it your fault. But what if it's not? What if you've just been living inside a system that trained you to tolerate energy theft and call it connection? Carl Jung, the legendary psychologist, understood this. He spent his life mapping the invisible forces that shape our behavior, the shadows we inherit, the roles we play, the masks we wear. And he saw the patterns clearly. People don't just lose energy because of stress or busyness. They lose it because they're trapped in dynamics that erode their soul from the inside out. In this video, we're going to uncover the 7 toxic behaviors that quietly destroy your energy field. Not just what they are, but how they work, why we tolerate them, and most importantly, how to reclaim your power starting today. Because once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. And once you break them, you won't just protect your energy, you'll transform your entire life. Let's go deeper. Behavior 1. Subtle shaming masquerading as concern. You know those moments when someone says something and it feels off, but you can't quite explain why. They say, "Are you really going to wear that?" Or "You've changed a lot lately," and they say it with a smile. They act like they're being helpful. But deep down, something tightens in your chest. That's not concern. That's subtle shaming, emotional sabotage, wearing a mask of I care. And it's dangerous, because it hides in plain sight. You don't feel attacked. You feel confused. Like maybe you're the one being too sensitive. Maybe you're overthinking it, so you let it slide. Again, and again, and again. But each time it happens, a little piece of your confidence dissolves. You second-guess your decisions. You edit yourself to stay safe. You stop expressing the full you and start curating a version of yourself that's acceptable to their standards. This is death by 1,000 cuts. And Carl Jung warned us, the most damaging thing in the life of the soul is not what is seen, but what is hidden in plain sight. Subtle shaming doesn't yell. It whispers. It wraps itself in politeness. It gaslights you into believing that shrinking yourself is just being self-aware. And if you've been conditioned to survive on approval, you start craving their fake concern just to feel seen, even when it hurts. But here's the truth. Real concern empowers. It doesn't diminish. It uplifts. It doesn't undercut. You don't need people in your life who keep you small in the name of helping you grow. The next time someone questions your choices in the name of concern, don't shrink. Pause, feel, and say, "This doesn't feel supportive to me." Because your energy deserves protection, even from pretty words that hide sharp edges. Behavior 2. Guilt-driven generosity. Be honest, how many times have you said yes when your entire body was screaming no? You weren't excited. You weren't aligned. You weren't even available. But you agreed anyway. Why? Because saying no made you feel selfish. Because you were afraid of letting someone down. Because guilt whispered in your ear, louder than your own needs. This is what I call guilt-driven generosity. And it's one of the most common ways people drain their energy fields without even realizing it. You're not giving because you want to. You're giving because you're afraid not to. That's not generosity. That's obligation in disguise. And Carl Jung would call this a trauma pattern. Because at some point in your life, you were taught that your worth depended on what you could do for others. that love was earned, not received freely, that good people always sacrifice, always bend, always show up even when they're crumbling inside. So now, you wear overgiving like armor. You say yes to favors that burn you out. You keep relationships alive by pouring from a dry cup. You become everyone's emotional sponge and then wonder why you feel numb, angry, resentful, or just plain tired. You know why? Because every time you override your truth to avoid guilt, you chip away at your boundaries. And every time you ignore your own needs, you tell your energy field, you don't matter. But here's the truth, no one told you. You can be kind without being a martyr. You can be loving without being drained. You can show up without selling yourself out. Start asking this, am I doing this from love or from guilt? If it's guilt, pause, breathe, say no, kindly but firmly. Because if your generosity doesn't include yourself, it's not generosity, it's self-abandonment, and your energy is too sacred for that. Behavior 3, chronic people-pleasing. You know that voice in your head that says, don't make a scene. Don't upset anyone. Just be nice. That voice doesn't belong to you. It was installed, maybe by a parent, a teacher, society. Somewhere along the line, you were taught that safety equals approval, that love equals obedience, that your needs don't matter as much as keeping everyone else happy. And so, without even realizing it, you became the peacekeeper. The one who says yes, even when it hurts. The one who nods and smiles and adjusts and adapts until there's barely any you left. That's chronic people-pleasing, and it's one of the most soul-depleting behaviors on the planet. You think you're being kind. You think you're being supportive. But what's actually happening? You're disappearing. Carl Jung warned us that when you sacrifice your authenticity for approval, the psyche splits. There's the you the world wants and the real you locked in the basement. Every time you say yes to avoid discomfort, you train your energy field to absorb tension that doesn't belong to you. You walk on eggshells. You rehearse conversations in your head before speaking. You shrink your preferences, your desires, your voice, because you're terrified of being too much. But guess what? Authenticity is always too much for people who benefit from your silence. And here's the kicker, people-pleasing doesn't even work. You end up drained, and they end up expecting more. Because the more you give without boundaries, the more invisible you become. So here's your shift. Your job is not to keep everyone happy. Your job is to stay in integrity with yourself. The next time someone asks for something that doesn't sit right, try this. I'm not available for that, but I hope you understand. Simple, respectful, true. Because protecting your peace isn't rude. It's responsible. Behavior 4, passive aggression disguised as humor. Ever been the butt of the joke in a room full of people? Someone throws a jab at you about your clothes, your goals, your personality. And when you pause for a beat, they're quick to say, relax, I'm just kidding. But you weren't laughing. Not really. Not on the inside. And yet, you smiled anyway. Maybe you even fired back with a sarcastic jab of your own, just to keep things light. Because calling it out would make you look too sensitive, right? Like you can't take a joke. That's how passive aggression wins. This is emotional violence wearing a clown suit. A verbal slap with a laugh track. And it's one of the most socially accepted forms of abuse there is. Carl Jung called this symbolic violence. Wounds that don't bleed, but still scar. Attacks that come dressed as affection, so you never feel justified in defending yourself. And the more you tolerate it, the more you internalize the script. I deserve this. I should be able to take it. Eventually, you start doing the job for them, making yourself the punchline before anyone else can. Why? Because if you mock yourself first, it won't sting as much when they do it. But here's the truth. Humor isn't a shield for cruelty. Laughter doesn't neutralize disrespect. Mockery doesn't build intimacy. it builds resentment. And if someone uses your insecurities as material for their jokes, they're not bonding with you, they're broadcasting that they don't see you as an equal. Protecting your energy field means refusing to perform pain for the comfort of others. The next time someone hides a jab behind a joke, pause. Don't laugh. Just say, "I don't find that funny." Watch how fast the energy shifts. Because when you stop playing along, they lose the stage. Behavior 5. Comparison culture and self-gaslighting. Let's talk about the silent killer of your energy field, comparison. You wake up feeling okay until you scroll. Suddenly, someone's vacation photos make your life feel boring. Someone's promotion makes your job feel small. Someone's body makes yours feel wrong. And the worst part? You do it without thinking, like a reflex, because we've been conditioned to measure our value against the curated highlight reels of others. You don't even realize it, but every time you do this, you're gaslighting yourself. You're telling yourself your progress doesn't count. Your growth isn't fast enough. Your happiness isn't valid unless it looks like theirs. This is self-gaslighting disguised as motivation. You whisper things like, "I should be further by now. I guess I'm just not trying hard enough. I need to do more, be more, prove more." But let me ask you, prove it to who? Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, not who they are, not who society wants. You." When you live in constant comparison, you split from your truth. You start chasing timelines that were never meant for you. You lose touch with your own rhythm, your own season, your own soul. And slowly, your energy field starts collapsing under the weight of expectations that were never yours. Here's what no one says enough. Your journey is not late. It's not off track. It's not broken. It's yours. You're not supposed to bloom when everyone else does. You're supposed to bloom when your roots are ready. So next time that comparison itch creeps in, pause and ask, is this inspiring me or draining me? If it's draining you, unfollow, unplug, take a breath and remember, you are not behind. You are on your way, and that is enough. Behavior 6. Emotionally unavailable relationships. You know that feeling when someone's physically there but emotionally gone? They sit beside you. They nod at the right times. Maybe they even say, "I love you." But deep down, you know they're not with you. You feel it in the long pauses, the distracted eyes, the you hues that don't match your words, the way you speak from your soul and get silence in return. That's not love. That's emotional vacancy. And it's one of the most toxic environments for your energy field to exist in. Because your soul is reaching out, and there's no one on the other side. Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness doesn't come from being alone. It comes from being unable to communicate the things that matter most." And this is exactly that kind of loneliness, the kind that makes your chest ache while your mouth stays shut. You start questioning yourself. Am I asking for too much? Maybe they're just tired. Maybe I'm being dramatic. But you're not. Because real connection doesn't feel like starving. When someone is emotionally unavailable, it sends a silent message to your energy field. You're not worth engaging with. Over time, that message becomes a belief. You stop sharing your truth. You start making yourself smaller. You numb your needs just to avoid the emptiness of unmet expectations. But here's the truth. Being in a relationship, romantic, platonic, or even family, that feels like ghosting in real time is not noble. It's corrosive. Your energy field thrives on reciprocity, on shared presence, on real emotional oxygen. So if you're constantly the one reaching out, the one trying, the one feeling too much, it's not that you're too intense. It's that they're not available. And if someone's absence costs you your peace, their presence isn't a gift. It's a leak. Behavior 7. Self-doubt posing as humility. Let's get real. How many times have you brushed off a compliment? How often have you downplayed your wins? Told people it was nothing when deep down you know it was something? That's not modesty. That's not humility. That's internalized self-doubt dressed up to look polite. And it's one of the most dangerous drains on your energy field because it comes from you. You've been taught that playing small is noble, that being confident is arrogant, that celebrating yourself makes others uncomfortable. So you keep your shine dimmed. You whisper your achievements. You pretend your dreams are casual. And worst of all, you start believing that your greatness needs to be hidden to be accepted. Carl Jung warned us about this. He said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Because when you do, you stop waiting for permission. You stop shrinking to fit into fragile egos. And that makes people uncomfortable. But guess what? Your light was never meant to be comfortable for everyone. It was meant to be honest, bold, radiant. Humility isn't pretending you're not powerful. It's knowing you are and not needing to prove it. But when you confuse self-erasure with grace, your energy field takes the hit. You start attracting people who don't see you, jobs that don't stretch you, relationships that can't hold you. And then you wonder, why does life feel so small? It's because you've been shrinking yourself to make others feel secure. So here's your permission slip. Own your magic. Speak your value. Stand in your truth, even if your voice shakes. Because there's nothing spiritual about staying small for other people's comfort. You're not here to be invisible. You're here to be undeniable. The turning point. So now you see it. These aren't just bad habits. These are psychic drains. Each one chips away at your boundaries, your identity, your power. But here's the good news. Now that you can see the pattern, you can break it. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This is your moment of consciousness. You are not here to be pleasing, silent, small, or safe. You're here to be whole. How to reclaim your energy field, inspired by Jung. So, how do you stop the leaks? Simple steps, big shifts. Step 1. Awareness over autopilot. If something drains you, it matters. Stop excusing it. Step 2. Boundaries over burnout. Every time you say yes, when you mean no, you're betraying yourself. Reclaim that no. Step 3. Expression over suppression. Say what you feel. Say what you need. Say what you mean, out loud. Step 4. Containment over performance. You don't owe anyone your full self on display. Guard your energy like treasure. Step 5. Alignment over approval. Live for your own values. Not for likes, not for applause, truthfully, for you. Final word, rebirth isn't loud. It's intentional. This isn't about burning everything down. This is about returning to the you that existed before guilt, before shame, before you learned to shrink for others. You're not broken. You're not too much. You're just waking up. So today, let this be your vow. I reclaim my field. Not just a phrase, a declaration that your energy is sacred, that your presence is power. And from now on, nothing gets access unless it honors both. Welcome back to yourself.